Are bad sensors draining your gas? These 9 fixes can save you a tank. You see, gas prices are not your biggest problem as a car owner. The real problem and thief is under your car bonnet. Right now, your car could be burning through gallons of fuel for no reason. Not because you're driving harder, not because the pump is rigged, but because your sensors are simply lying. They are sending the wrong data to your car computer. The thing is, when just one sensor goes bad, it can trick your engine into dumping more fuel than it needs, running rich and bleeding efficiency. You don't hear it. You don't feel it. You just watch your wallet get lighter every week. So in this video, I'm going to expose 9 sensors that are quietly killing your fuel economy. If you don't know these, you're basically throwing money straight out the tailpipe, and I'll show you exactly how to catch them before they drain you dry. Now let's get right into it. We'll begin with the ambient air temperature sensor, a small but critical piece of technology that acts like your car's built-in weather station. Its primary job is to measure the outside air temperature and feed that data directly to the ECU. Why does this matter? Because the density of air changes with temperature, and the ECU has to know those changes in order to deliver the correct fuel mixture. Colder air is denser and carries more oxygen, so the ECU compensates by adding more fuel. Warmer air is lighter with less oxygen per volume, so fuel delivery is reduced. When this sensor malfunctions or gives inaccurate readings, imagine it reports 20 degrees when it's really 70. The ECU mistakenly believes the engine needs a richer mixture. That keeps the car in cold start mode longer than it should, wasting fuel. Typically located behind the grille or in the bumper, this sensor is exposed to dirt, road debris, water, and corrosion. Cleaning the connector often restores it, but in many cases, a quick replacement is the smartest fix. Either way, ignoring it can cost you hundreds in wasted fuel over a year. Next is the oxygen sensor, sitting in your exhaust pipe. It's basically your engine's fuel economy referee. It measures how much oxygen is in the exhaust gases and tells the ECU if the mixture's too rich or too lean. The ECU then adjusts the fuel injectors accordingly, and it does this multiple times per second. But here's the problem. Oxygen sensors can get coated with carbon, contaminated by oil or coolant leaks, or just wear out from heat cycling. A lazy or inaccurate sensor can cause the ECU to default to a rich setting just to be safe, which burns more fuel than necessary. On some cars, a bad O2 sensor can hurt fuel economy by 10 to 15% almost overnight. You might smell unburned fuel, notice a check engine light with codes like PO130 or PO420, or feel sluggish acceleration. Replacing them isn't cheap if your car has 4, but it's still far less than what you'll spend in extra fuel over time. Third, the mass airflow sensor. Picture it as the accountant at the front door of your engine, measuring every bit of air that comes in. The ECU uses that info to calculate how much fuel to inject for optimal combustion. If dirt, oil, or even a little dust gets on its sensing wire, it can misread airflow. A low reading means the ECU thinks there's less air than there really is, so it adds less fuel, leading to lean running and potential engine knock. A high reading means it thinks there's more air, so it adds too much fuel, killing your mileage. You might notice hesitation when accelerating, poor throttle response, or just a gradual MPG drop. Cleaning the MAF is a simple DIY job with the right spray. If cleaning doesn't fix it, replacement is the only cure. Number 4, the throttle position sensor. This sensor tells the ECU how far open the throttle plate is, essentially how much gas you're asking for with your foot. If it's faulty, the ECU might think you're accelerating harder than you are, dumping in extra fuel. Or it might think you're barely touching the pedal when you're flooring it, which can cause hesitation and gear hunting in automatics. You could experience a jumpy idle, stalling, or poor shifts. Since throttle position affects both fuel injection and ignition timing, a bad TPS can have a big impact on fuel use without always triggering a warning light right away. Fifth, the vehicle speed sensor. It's not just for your speedometer. The ECU uses this data to control transmission shifts, manage fuel cutoff during coasting, and even coordinate with stability control systems. If it fails or sends erratic readings, your transmission might hold lower gears too long, keeping the RPMs high and burning more fuel. Cruise control can also behave erratically, causing little surges that you feel as bumps in acceleration. Every surge means wasted gas. Number 6 is the intake air temperature sensor. Unlike the ambient air temp sensor, this one measures the temperature of the air actually entering the engine, right before combustion. The ECU uses it to fine-tune fuel delivery and ignition timing. If it reads cooler than reality, the ECU enriches the mix unnecessarily. If it reads hotter, it might pull timing and make the engine feel sluggish. Either way, your fuel economy suffers. This sensor can be standalone or built into the MAF, so sometimes replacing one means replacing both. Seventh is the fuel pressure sensor. This one monitors the pressure in the fuel rail. Too high and you're spraying in more fuel than needed. Too low and you get lean running and misfires. A failing sensor can trick the ECU into running the pump harder, which wastes fuel and stresses the pump. Common symptoms include long cranks before starting, poor throttle response, and lower MPG without obvious leaks. This is one to fix quickly. Low fuel pressure can overheat the pump, while high pressure can wash down cylinder walls with fuel. Eighth, the manifold absolute pressure sensor. It reads the pressure in the intake manifold to help the ECU calculate engine load. On cars without an MAF, it's the primary way the ECU estimates airflow. If it's off, everything from fuel injection to ignition timing can go sideways. You might get black smoke from the exhaust, poor acceleration, and lousy MPG. MAP sensors can be killed by carbon buildup in their port or by vacuum leaks in the hoses connected to them. And ninth, the EGR temperature sensor. This one lives in the exhaust gas recirculation system, which routes some exhaust back into the intake to lower combustion temperatures and reduce emissions. The EGR temperature sensor tells the ECU whether the EGR system is actually working. If it fails, the ECU might keep the EGR valve open or closed at the wrong times. An EGR stuck open can let in too much exhaust, making the engine run rough and inefficient. Stuck closed, combustion temps rise, and the ECU may compensate with extra fuel to avoid knock. Both scenarios hurt fuel economy. This sensor is often exposed to extreme heat and soot, which can eventually coat it and make it read incorrectly. Cleaning can sometimes restore accuracy, but often replacement is the best fix. Here's the takeaway. Any one of these sensors can quietly drain your fuel economy without leaving obvious clues at first. That's why it's worth paying attention to subtle changes. A drop of even 2 to 3 mpg adds up fast. Over a year, that's hundreds of dollars gone. So keep an eye on your mileage. If something feels off, check for stored codes even if the check engine light isn't on. Some issues only set pending codes that don't light the dash. And if you don't want to get your hands dirty, a good mechanic can run these checks in under an hour. Don't let a $50 sensor turn into a $500 fuel bill. If you found this helpful, share it with someone whose MPG has mysteriously dropped.